Hello there, and welcome to the Entertainment Audio Show with Jordan and Lane. I am Jedi Knight Jordan.
I'm CT9913, or Lane.
Thank you for being here. Just a heads up, spoilers ahead. I don't think I have to worry about spoilers too much on a lot of the stuff today.
Well, some of it, because
Some of it, but not all of it.
one of the big things we're going to talk about today, the thing that I might be the most excited about, I can't even talk. I'm so excited I can't even talk correctly. But, for those listening in, May the 4th be with you. Happy May the 4th. This is our Star Wars special. I'm so excited. I don't even know where this thing can begin, because I've been a Star Wars fan since I was like 12 years old. My first PG-13 movie in theaters was Return. No, it wasn't Return to the Jedi. No, it was Revenge of the Sith. It was Revenge of the Sith. So my very first PG-13 movie in theaters was Revenge of the Sith. I saw it with my grandfather first, and then I convinced my uncle to take me. We're sitting in the theater, and I leaned over and went, "Watch this part." He leans back over and goes, "You've seen this?" No. That was an interesting conversation after the fact. No, I'm playing. That really did happen. It was really funny at the time, but I know that. But I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time. I'm almost. I turned 32 in 2 weeks, so a long time. But you're a more recent fan. It's not super recent.
Yes,
Right?
yes, and I don't want to say recent fan. Well, and more recent fan by years, yes, but like it's still there. Like
Almost a decade though now.
Almost a decade. And when it got into it, it hit me hard. I had never watched Star Wars before until the job I was going to work into involved Star Wars heavily. And my cousin was like, "I'm not letting you work this job without you seeing the thing." So he made me at least watch the original trilogy, and I fell in love with what Star Wars is. Just off those 3 movies. And I know a lot of people have that concept too. And not watching Star Wars up to that point was not something that I'd intentionally did. I wasn't avoiding it. It's just nobody I knew had them. When TV would like play them, and I'm like, all right, let me try it. It always start with episode 1 because they play them chronologically. And I wouldn't say Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars thing to show somebody to try to get them into the fandom.
It also depends on your point of view, because there's so many people out there that say chronological is the way to go, and we're like, no. But yeah,
I would say if you've watched the Star Wars movies before, chronological is a fun way to watch it.
Oh yeah,
but it's not a way to introduce somebody to Star Wars.
No, it's really because that you got to get the feeling of that everybody got when they were first introduced into the realm of possibility. You gotta start with A New Hope.
Yeah,
and it just leaves off. But knowing all of this, knowing that you accidentally started with 1 and went to the, and then eventually got put on the right path. You followed the Jedi way. I wanted to ask you. we kind of discuss sometimes about like what our ranking is.
Yes.
Sorry for my coughing. I'm very curious because I think right before we started recording, you mentioned that you're glad that you just watched something that you're glad that your ranking was not set in stone yet.
Yeah.
Was that right?
This is true. But do we want to? I know there's a couple ways we can do this because Star Wars is a massive thing now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Do we want to talk about? Do we want to focus the laser smaller for a bit, or do we go to the big, broad topic?
I feel like we need to go broad and then focus in.
Then narrow it down?
We need to focus the Death Star laser.
Okay.
Because it starts broad, it warms up, and then focal point.
And then we blow up Alderaan.
I had friends in Alderaan places. Um, that's a terrible joke.
That was awful.
I'm not
I'm
proud
so
of it.
proud of you.
Oh, okay, I am proud of it. Never mind. That's reminds me of memes I've seen that had Stormtrooper sitting at a table with his hand against his helmet. I had friends on that Death Star,
I've seen
and
those
I'm just like,
T-shirts.
that's great. I need that T-shirt. I had the Emotions of Darth Vader T-shirt growing up, so that was fun.
Yeah. All
But
right.
I really want to get your opinion because we're recording this as of May 2nd.
Yes, we are.
Yesterday, Bad Batch ended. So I'm curious if Bad Batch, or like where Bad Batch as a whole, has fallen into your ranking.
So
So,
the reason I told you, like, 'cause I texted you when I was watching the finale for Bad Batch, that I'm glad I didn't finalize my rankings until I'd watched this. And
Mhm.
so go ahead and we can say, I don't think we said it yet. This is a ranking of not just Star Wars movies, Star Wars shows. These are like Star Wars projects as a whole, where we kind of rank them. Uh, I'm glad I did not finalize my rankings because as of what I saw, because 3 days ago I was way behind. If anybody who's listening to this podcast knows, we've talked about it every episode. Uh, I was way behind on Bad Batch. Update: I finished it. Uh,
in
Bad
like
Batch, I
3 days,
if
it
I would
was
have
great.
made these rankings where I stopped before, which was kind of 3 or 4 episodes into season 2, I don't think Bad Batch would have made my top 5.
Really?
I loved season 1 a lot.
Yeah.
The first half of season 2 was not the greatest for me.
Well, like, yeah, I gotta say that a lot of season 2 felt like fillers at the beginning. And
Yeah,
it was kind of funny because you had made a point about why you felt like that might be the case. And it's one of my favorite things.
you mean to say
Just
it?
yeah, say it, please, because it's
Uh, I
hilarious.
said it. It feels like, this is just me saying something. I'm not saying, I haven't talked to Dave Filoni to see if this is true. I'll email him later. But I I said it feels like Disney was so happy with the reception of season 1 that they went ahead and greenlit a season 2 and a 3, and Dave Filoni was like, "I don't have enough material for 2 seasons. I can make it a season and a half, and let's just figure something out."
And I feel like the half was the second half, not even the first half.
Oh, absolutely.
He was
Because
like,
once we
I
get to a
guess
point
this
in that show,
story.
it's about 4 or 5 episodes left in season 2, where it's like they put the pedal to the metal, and it just goes for the rest of the show.
Not even like the rest of the season, like the rest of the show.
The rest of the
This is
show.
what, like, the whole. I'm at a point, no joke, where I'm heavily considering going back and like starting over and watching it from the beginning. Like, once I can have like a week of vacation and just watch the entire thing in a week. It's only 47 episodes. It's doable. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I do want to find out. Give me just as a sample, because right now I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I only have movies and shows in
I
my ranking.
I
I don't
also
have
only
any of the
have
other projects
movies and
yet.
shows. I was gonna put some video games on there, but I decided not to. I will also say I don't have a full ranking of everything. I know you kind of fell down a rabbit hole.
I did a 19 long rabbit hole.
I kind of stopped at my top 5 because I feel like after my top 5, it gets very fluid, where things can move around based on things. But I feel like my top 5 is fair. Top 4 for sure, but top 5 I think is fairly locked.
Okay, go. Ready.
Okay, so
Good fire.
uh, my top thing, number 1, the Clone Wars series, the full Clone Wars series, not the hand drawn animation from before.
Oh yeah, yeah. Gotcha.
I have
So
the
that was
Clone
awesome.
Wars, 7 seasons of Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, my number 2,
Really?
Yes. But it's going to get more interesting when I get here in a moment. You're going to realize something as I continue down this list. The Mandalorian. The 3 seasons of Mandalorian. Even though I do feel like
Okay.
season 3 was not as great as season 1 and 2, but season 1 and 2 are good enough that it still gets to stay in. Number 4, Bad Batch. And my 5th one, I was kind of him and hawing between a few things. I think I'm
Fucking
going
need
to
a
have.
drum
I
roll.
think I'm going to go with. Came between 2 things. I'll go get my top 6 then, so I can say both of them. These are kind of tied.
Oh my gosh! I'm on pins and needles, dang it! You're gonna let
Okay,
me fall out of my wheelchair.
so these 2 can flip. Ahsoka and Andor.
Oh.
And I think my Ahsoka jumps in there because of my love for Star Wars Rebels, because that is essentially another season of Star Wars Rebels. It's live action Rebels.
Yeah, that's actually yeah.
And I love Andor. It is a fantastically written and shot show. I know a lot of people say it's boring and it's slow. It is a slow burn, but I feel like that actually helps some of the storytelling there.
See, I feel like my top 5 is just gonna make people upset.
Also,
Like,
before we go into that, have you realized something? Did you realize something about my ranking? That's top 5.
well, like they're all involving animation.
Well, not all animation, because
Well, like
Mandalorian
most of them.
and Andor and Ahsoka.
Well,
But
no,
there's
like Ahsoka involves, but Ahsoka involves animation because it's essentially live action Rebels.
okay,
You
but
just use today's stuff.
Andor wasn't.
Yeah, true.
But they're all shows.
Okay.
They're not movies. It wouldn't take long to get to a movie if I continued down my list more probably, but
Okay.
I for
Yeah.
a long time I went through Clone Wars and through Rebels and started eating Mandalorian. I had told people I feel like some of the best Star Wars storytelling's happening in these shows, and
I
it almost put for long form storytelling is right for Star Wars.
I definitely feel like I agree with you. Because like I think 4 of my top 5 are shows as well.
Okay, well now we're talking about it. Let's go ahead and hit yours out. Let's see if I get as nervous waiting for yours as you got for mine.
No, because well, mine really hasn't changed a whole lot, but mine is gonna make people confused. Because my number 1 and number 2 are interchangeable. It's Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, and there's this very specific reason why. I've I've always been the guy that watched Star Wars because I like space. I love space. I love blasters. Lightsabers are cool, but I prefer a guy with armor and a blaster. So for me, Boba Fett has always been my favorite character. And then they introduced Mandalorian, and I went, ah, "Whoa, that's so cool!" And then when he vaporized the Jawa for the first time with his rifle, and my brain went, "Heh, heh, heh, pretty." Like that's just immediately where I went into. So like that's why like even like my top 5, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, those are interchangeable. Bad Batch is number 3, Rogue One is number 4, and Clone Wars is number 5.
Okay.
But like even like Bad Batch and Rogue One, or Bad Batch, Rogue One, and Clone Wars are a little interchangeable as well.
Okay.
Um, but then mine like, and then I actually hit one of the prequels immediately, so it's weird to me because there's not an original trilogy movie until I get to number 9 of my top 10, which is weird. But number
Interesting.
6 is Revenge of the Sith. And it was because it was my first PG-13 movie. It was my first Star Wars film in theaters.
Okay.
So I have
Like,
a very strong emotional connection to that one.
okay, now we're talking about this because you only had one movie in your top 5,
Space.
2 in your
Yes.
top 6.
Yes.
Let's give some love to the movies for a moment.
Oh, heck yes.
Uh, and I feel like just hearing you talk now, I think because there's something you said that's very similar to something I'm going to say too. Would
Oh,
you put your top 5 Star Wars movies?
okay. Oh, boy. Let me look. So, like, mine is like Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, Attack of the Clones, and then this is where I'm gonna get some hate. It's kind of a toss up, not toss up, but like A New Hope is after Attack of the Clones. But sometimes I feel like I want to watch Solo. And Solo is like the one that gets all the hate.
Interesting.
But I enjoy Solo to a degree. But the way that I have to watch Solo, is kind of weird. I can't picture Solo as being Solo.
Okay.
I have to picture him being a Star Wars character. Period.
Okay. That's fair.
Nothing additional.
My thing
Which
with
is
Solo,
so stupid, but
because Solo's not going to be in my top 5. Because I don't know if I've said it on the podcast yet. I tell a lot of people there are some things in there's a thing they do a lot of times in movies that kind of bugs me and will take me out of movies, and that's what I call rapid fire storytelling, where they just start firing plot points. Solo starts off that way because it's trying to. I feel like Solo becomes a much better movie for me when the first heist starts. The train scene, from that point on, I love Solo.
Oh, and I love
everything
Troopers,
before that.
Introduction of Troopers is amazing.
Yeah, everything before that though really takes me out of that movie. I also hate how he got his name.
Yeah, I've ignored that for so long at this point. I keep forgetting it's even in the movie.
Yeah, it's that I literally in the theater I was like, he was doing the thing and he's like, I don't have a family. I'm like, oh no, this isn't how he gets the thing, is it? It did it.
They did the thing they weren't supposed to do.
Yeah, they did.
Dang it.
They did. But yeah. But again, like I said, I've watched Solo several times. Solo's not a movie that I won't not watch. I feel like it's really good, and I would have loved to see continuations with some of the characters in that movie.
Oh yeah, but then they killed them all off, so it's kind of hard to. Oh no! Wait,
of them.
Kira.
Not all of them.
No, hang on. Sorry, my brain. There's a new video game coming out called Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah,
Kira's in it.
Yeah,
Kira is in it, and I didn't know that, and it made me flip out. But I'm still probably not gonna buy it until it goes on sale. Because ridiculous pricing. Anyway.
Yeah. Also, it's hard to get to care about characters that are in life-threatening situations that you know are going to survive. Han and Chewie.
Yeah, that's actually very true too.
I remember watching the trailer.
Stories.
Yeah. I remember watching the trailer for Solo when it came out, and there's a shot in the trailer from that train scene where like Chewbacca like falls off the train, is hanging on the side with a cliff coming, and it cuts. And I leaned over to my friend, and I was like, I don't think Chewie's gonna make it.
What if he didn't make it, and it was like some other Wookiee took up the mantle of the Chewbacca name? That would have been hilarious and made so many people mad.
It wouldn't be the last time we've been faked out for a Chewie death.
That's very true.
We'll talk about that later.
I don't even want to talk about that one.
We're not. Listen, I want to keep this positive. We're not going to talk about that movie today.
No, because those. I'm going to tell you now. Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and Last Jedi are at the bottom of my list.
Okay, now you say that, I want to give you my top 5.
Oh no. Okay.
So my top 5.
Okay.
Up top, Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, a close second, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Number 3, Force Awakens.
You lost me.
We go back to what we said before. Force Awakens was the first Star Wars movie that I saw in theaters.
Okay.
And I feel like Force Awakens does capture the Star Wars feel. It feels like a Star Wars movie.
I'm a little disappointed, but I get it. I understand.
Right after that, I wouldn't say this may be a close fourth. Rogue One, which would have been the second Star Wars movie I saw in theaters.
Good choice.
And after that, A New Hope.
Was that the one we saw? Did we see Rogue One together? I don't remember. We saw one of them. We saw.
I know we saw He Who Should Not Be Named together.
Goodness gracious! Not even. No.
I fell asleep. in that second time we watched it together. It was the second time I watched it.
I don't even remember what movie we're talking about.
Episode 9.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I now I understand the joke. My bad.
Yeah, yeah.
My brain is so when you like throwing out a Harry Potter reference in a Star Wars podcast is kind of it made my brain stop for a second. My bad.
Hey, I'm a nerd in everything.
But I've never seen Harry Potter, so that's what threw me off.
uh,
But yeah,
but these 5 movies for me, when I think of Star Wars and I say I want to watch a Star Wars movie, these are one of the 5 I'm going to put on.
Okay.
And it is funny that technically that top 4 falls into the 4 different quote unquote eras of Star Wars movies. It's an original trilogy.
One of those definitely falls into an error of Star Wars, in my opinion.
But yeah,
I'll stop now.
It's literally an original trilogy movie, a prequel, a sequel trilogy, and one of the anthology movies is my top 4.
Now, I'm going to say this real quick before anybody starts screaming at me. I know I give Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and Last Jedi a lot of flack. I know that. But please understand when I say this. If you enjoy those movies, good. I'm very glad you do. Because Star Wars is so big now that it almost feels like there's something for everybody. If I enjoy a movie that you don't, and I'm talking to the audience as well as Jordan now. If there's a movie that you enjoy that I don't, that's great. If there's a movie that I enjoy and you don't, that's great too. Like, we're fans. It can be a widespread thing, and I feel like Marvel is getting the same way too. But that's why it's so cool that Star Wars is so big now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue giving the movie's flack, but please understand that I do it from a place of love of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I do it out of fun. No malice behind it.
It's also interesting to see because I'm old enough that we are old enough to have really experienced almost the entire circle of what the fandom thinks about these movies.
Yes.
Because growing up, even though I had not seen the movies, and right before I started watching them, when you would talk to people our age and like a little bit older, they hated the prequels, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
But that's changing.
We were in the age group where I feel like people our age were kind of okay with the prequels.
Yes.
They never admitted love.
Right.
Because admitting love was taboo.
Yes. And I think now it's like, all right, we're going to go ahead and say it now. But it's also got that feeling, it's like, those movies are what the original trilogy was for the generation before us.
Exactly.
Those are the movies that they grew up with. They grew up with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Exactly.
Whereas the other grew up with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Leia. And there's going to be a group today, unfortunately, that their Star Wars is the sequel trilogies. Rey is such an important character for a lot of people. And I'll give them that. That's awesome for them. But there's also a whole new generation who's growing up watching Disney Plus Star Wars, which has all been pretty good up to this point.
Yeah. I can't fault anybody with that.
Mr. Filoni.
It's I can't even believe where this is going now. Now, I don't think that every Star Wars project is going to be amazing.
Right.
And I feel like we're going to have some hits and some misses. And then we're going to have some curiosities, like the new one, The Acolyte, that comes out this summer. I'm really curious. I'm not going to say I'm excited. I'm not going to say I'm optimistic. I'm not going to say I'm not looking forward to it at all. I'm saying I'm cautiously interested.
I will say I would probably drop the cautiously off. It may come back to bite me, but I'm excited for The Acolyte because it falls into something I really like. Because I feel like it's been a minute since we've actually had like Jedi stories. And I know you
And
said
see,
you're more into like the blasters,
exactly.
more as the lightsabers. I love them both a lot, which is why I
A-
think Clone Wars and Rebels fall so high on my list of projects because it's a fine balance of both.
And that's why, like, yeah. And this is what I love about Star Wars. There's something, like I said, there's something for everybody. And that's
Hmm.
why I'm having my kind of cautiously interested about the Acolyte, because it is going to be about, I think isn't it during the time of the High Republic?
Yeah, I think it takes place, is it 100 years before Phantom Menace?
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what happens with these characters that we've never met before.
Hmm.
Because like even when like Rogue One came out, and then like you said, like with Solo, we see these characters, we know what's gonna happen. We know how the movie's probably gonna end.
Hmm.
We know Chewbacca's gonna survive because he's in 6 more movies after the fact.
Hmm.
And we know that the ones in Rogue One are not gonna make it off of Scarif. Um, but I'm interested because now we're getting brand new story. We're getting characters we've never seen before. We know nothing about,
Hmm.
except unless you've read comics, and I'm not even 100% sure that they're in the comics at all. I've not read the comics personally, so I can't say it. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do with characters we've never heard of, and can they get us hooked on them? Can they get us interested? Can they get us intrigued by these characters quickly enough to keep our interest?
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying I'm cautiously interested, because I could watch the very first episode and go, "It's not for me." Will I still watch it? Probably, because it's Star Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this actually brings up a point. Like you said that you love lightsabers. I said I love blasters. So let me ask you this: what is your favorite Star Wars character?
I have one that's top over all of them, but I think there's three characters that stand out as if they're involved with something, I'm on board.
So
Uh,
give me your three, and then give me your top overall. Like which one
so
of the?
I'll go from third to I'll give my top the other two, and then I'll tell my top and last. Uh, I am a big fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker.
Nice.
Uh, which we'll talk about in something we're talking about a little bit later between those
Wait,
two.
specifically in that order, like it's 3 and 2. Like
They're
Obi
like
Wan is
3 and 2.
3.
They're like I would probably put. I feel like lately Anakin's probably pushing above Obi-Wan because they're using Anakin in some awesome ways lately. Um, so they're like that
Dude,
2 and 3,
somebody.
like on top of each
Oh,
other. But
yeah. When
then,
we get to our next topic, I have some stuff
oh yeah, oh I do too.
about this too.
Uh, and then my number one is Boba Fett.
I'll agree. Like that's Boba Fett's my number one as well. But but I have to say that it really Mandalorians in general are my favorite people group in Star Wars.
Mine too. Mine too.
So Boba Fett's right there at the dang top. But I also have to say that Mandalorian is like a very close second. Specifically, Din Djarin
I feel like
is a very close second. Sometimes they might even interchange a little bit.
yeah, I feel like for me, I feel like Din Djarin is like on the cusp of being that fourth spot, but I'm hesitant to do it because I want to see where they land the ship.
Yeah, yeah, I can get that. And that's the thing about top lists and stuff like that. They can be fluid. They can be going crazy all the time. And but
Hmm.
the thing that I'm curious to see your reaction on is I think I know what my number 3 is, and I'm kind of it's not surprising to me. It's Hunter
From Bad Batch.
from Bad Batch.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's my number 3 again because I like a good blaster. I like that sort of storytelling, but I love like the whole aspect. Um, and Bad Batch is probably one of my favorite shows, not just Star Wars, just in general. But I have reasons that they're not my number one show or my number one Star Wars project. Um, Actually, it's funny that I say that Because I just realized my top 3 in my ranking is Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and Bad Batch.
Yeah, it is.
So the fact that those are my 3 favorite characters, never mind. It makes perfect sense. Goodness gracious, Lord Almighty. That's hilarious. I didn't even put those together. But we're gonna get excited about this next thing. I want to ask you your favorite scenes or shots in recent projects. When I say recent projects, you can go back a decade for all I care.
We'll go back a decade. It's still.
I mean, just
the Disney era.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just mean like, give me like one of your favorite, or like what might be, because I have a feeling we're in a very similar boat.
So, recently, there were 2 shows that came out recently. One was last year. I think the other one was the year before. I think I can't remember when that was. But I'm going to start with the more recent one first. In Ahsoka. And this goes back to me talking
I know
about
exactly where you're going.
This goes back to how much I say I love Anakin, and this was one of the things that kind of pushing him to that second spot. That whole episode, I like the whole show. That one episode of the flashbacks with Anakin's Force Ghost is incredible.
Oh,
but there is a shot, and everybody who's seen it right now are probably going, they know what I'm talking about. There's a shot where in one of the battle scenes, Anakin walks into a dust cloud, and an explosion goes off, and you see a silhouette of Anakin turn into a silhouette of Darth Vader, and then back to Anakin. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because the moment you started talking about, you mentioned the show, and my brain went, because it is one of the most. But even between that, there was another shot, shortly after that I think also belongs in that list. But again, this is your list.
Let's go ahead and say yours too. We'll just kind of do these one at a time. We'll kind of bounce off each other.
Because I love that shot. That's definitely. I think you and I are just going to be in agreement. I think in our favorite shots from recent stuff, because that shot of the silhouette is amazing. But I also have to say, if I remember correctly, because it's been a minute, because I've had to let my brain like simmer down, because after I saw this, I freaked out for a long time. The scene where they're fighting essentially on that light bridge in that dreamscape, and Anakin is walking towards her. Isn't there like a lightning that goes off and he flickers onto Darth Vader for a second?
Yeah.
And then he just fully attacks. That's kind of. I see both of those kind of. Of course, they're meant to do the same thing, but I love that silhouette shot so much more. But that secondary shot where he flickers on like into wearing the Vader suit, I think I audibly screamed.
Man, that whole episode is so good, man.
Oh my gosh. I need to go back and rewatch just that episode.
And this goes back to me talking about my love of Clone Wars, because they flash back to a lot of scenes from Clone Wars that involve Anakin and Ahsoka.
And then finally getting to see like live action, like, wasn't it live action phase 2 Clone Troopers for the first time, or live action phase 1 Clone Troopers or something like that for the very first time? Everybody's brains just going, because we're all just absolutely freaking out.
And I think they did a great job, and this is going a little off topic, but it's still kind of on topic. They did a great job of casting young Ahsoka.
They did. Who was that? I don't remember.
That was Ariana Greenblatt, I think her name is.
Yeah, and she's been in some stuff recently.
Some big stuff. She's in a lot of big stuff. Yeah. And she's actually in a movie coming up that I'm actually pretty excited for, the Borderlands movie, but we're going to talk about that's not Star Wars. We'll talk about that later.
Didn't know that. We can talk about that at the end of the month.
Yes.
Or
I think it comes out. I don't know when it comes out. But anyways, back to Star Wars. My next thing.
I love that Star Wars, but even like talking about that for just a second, I love that Star Wars is like a stepping off point for so many people's careers.
It
Sorry,
really is.
pulling
It
back.
really is.
What was the yeah?
My next
Brain,
one.
Brango Burr.
My next one is from a show that came. I'm pretty sure it was the year before. I'm pretty sure it was 22. It came from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
Uh, his face off. I don't want to call it a fight. His face off with Darth Vader
Literally and figuratively.
is awesome. And there's one thing specific. That whole scene is great, but there's a moment in that scene where he breaks Vader's helmet, and you see Anakin's face, and you hear him talking, and you can hear the Vader voice, but also coming through as Anakin. That gives me, every time I've watched that scene several times, and it gives me chills every time I hear it. It is haunting to hear, and then what he's saying makes it even more haunting. It's
really
it's so sad.
And I think one of my favorite things was like the what something that Ewan McGregor was said in an interview. Remember that about that shot?
Is it the blue flash?
Yeah, the fact that the lightsaber turned blue was an accident.
Yeah.
I think I squealed when I heard that. I squeal a lot, apparently.
Oh, I do too. We know, everybody knows the nerd squeal.
Oh yeah, but just that whole I don't know. My brain is not functioning right now. I'm literally thinking about the shots, and my brain is just not even functioning right now. Like, but just that the flicker of the blue, and I feel like when it flickers blue, that's when you hear Anakin's voice the most prominent. But then it swings right back into the like dual voice, and you're right. That is the most haunting thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
That line delivery of, how's it go exactly? I am what you made me. Is that how it goes?
I don't even remember because we watched it recently. But I'm telling you, when I watch that shot, my brain turns to mush.
Pretty sure that's what he says.
If Cool, I'll take your
I
word
mean,
for it because I'm not gonna disagree. Because again, mush.
I can't tell you how close I came to dropping $57 to buy the steel case Blu-ray
Do
of
it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Do it.
I
Do
would,
it.
but I also
Do it.
bought two more because they have to release everything in fours, and I hate they do that because I can't justify spending $200 on Blu-rays, but I can do a 100.
That's a good justification right there. That's a very good justification.
I bought Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the Moon Knight steel cases too. But I want to circle back because they also released Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor on steel cases, and I want them. I really do.
That's so funny.
But you bros broke.
Yeah, same. Because this is not. And then they're doing so much amazing stuff this year.
It is. I am what you made me.
Everything. Yeah, and yeah. See, I told you I believed you. I'm not gonna argue with you, but my brain again.
Obi-Wan asked him, "What have you become?" And he goes, "I am what you made me." And like my heart sank. My heart sank. Oh my gosh! And then Obi-Wan's like cracking up and like breaking down, and I'm like, I'm breaking up and cracking and.
And what's amazing to me is you're seeing these emotions from these characters that we've seen emotions from these characters before, but never this like depth.
Yeah, because I feel like this goes back to some of the best acting in the prequel trilogies goes in that 45 minutes of Obi-Wan and Anakin on Mustafar. Those two together, that fight, especially on the banks of the lava river. Ewan and Hayden are just giving it their all. And they go right back to that in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Hayden's giving it all in everything they bring him in. And I'm so glad they're bringing him back for things.
And I love that he gets to don the suit every
Yeah,
time. And
gosh.
I also love that they keep bringing back, like they specifically keep bring. Oh goodness, excuse me. I'm having so many issues over here. I've been sick for a little while. Everybody, I'm sorry, but I love that they brought back James Earl Jones specifically
Hmm.
for the voice. Oh my gosh, they're bringing back the classics. They're bringing back even new people and making them classics. Oh my heart! But I gotta ask you something because
Yes.
we've been talking about shows, our favorite shots and shows. Speaking of shows, I've been dying. You've probably picked up on this. I've been dying to get your opinion on Bad Batch
Okay, I know we
because
brought
you
up
literally finished it. What was it, like 20 minutes before we started recording?
uh oh, it's about 30, 40, somewhere in there.
So
Um,
I do want to ask you, because what was your opinion on like season one that you remember?
that I can remember because I watched season one when it dropped back in 2021, correct?
Hmm. I believe
Yeah, because I
so.
think it was running around the same time Loki was airing. Because that's what I would do when I get home. I'd watch both of them. Season one's really good. It's very good, and I remember
I'm
that
nodding. Sorry,
season.
I'm like listening, but I'm nodding. I'm not.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I
I
realized I was nodding. Like I need to say something. Sorry.
and I know I pretty much watched season 2 and 3 within about 4 days recently. But they name dropped something that happened in season one with with the with the face off on Ryloth with Crosshair. You there?
Yeah, I don't know. My brain is not functioning again. I'm thinking about Bad Batch. Sorry. Can you say what the last thing you said was?
Yeah. 1 second.
Are we having technical issues again?
No, a little bit, but
Uh oh. No, not again. Okay.
no, but
Uh oh.
no, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
um,
Sorry for everybody listening. We were having technical issues up until like I hit the record button. So
to
that's why I keep reacting.
to tell everyone what just happened. I just accidentally knocked my phone off my desk here, and I thought I broke it.
Oh gosh.
So that's why I was like, kind of when you said technical difficulties. It's fine. My phone is fine. Everything's good.
Okay.
Um, but I was saying
Cool.
they in season 3 of Bad Batch, they talk about the face off with Crosshair on Ryloth, which I think
Hmm.
was the finale. That was a awesome finale for that show, and I was so excited for season 2. But then season 2 kind of started off kind of flat for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what seems like filler episodes. Some of the things do come back to be important later, but a lot of it didn't. Uh,
Yeah.
but
I don't think
I
it really even started picking back up until like
I think it was like 4
uh
episodes left
I'd say like oh left.
in
Oh
the season two.
gosh.
In season two, it was
No,
like it's
because
almost
I
half
would
the.
say
But they had to finish
personally,
up
I
the
think
whole
it's like
stuff with.
around season seven, or not season seven, season seven. Jeez, I wish we had 7 seasons. No, around episode kind of 7, but maybe not. I'm like I've
Well,
got it up on IMDb and looking through it.
so there was an episode that happened about midways that I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. But then it goes back to a couple more of the side stuff again.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because there was an episode, I think that you may be talking about. It's the episode that I was like, okay, I'm interested now, but then had some more side stuff follow. Was an episode on a snow planet with Crosshair and Mayday.
Oh no, that's actually after what I'm talking about
Oh, okay.
because that episode is called The Outpost, and that's actually 12 out of 16. So that's
Okay,
right when things
that would
start
be the
picking
four
back up
episodes I
again.
was talking about then.
Yeah, yeah, that's when it starts picking back up again. So that Outpost. Oh my gosh, the Outpost episode in Mayday. Oh gosh. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I absolutely love clones and stormtroopers and everything like that. And it's actually really, really interesting that uh you specifically mentioned that episode because that was a turning point for me. I actually really liked I loved the whole show, but I wanted to kind of gauge because you said you felt like it was a lot. I'll agree with you. It was a lot of those like one-off episodes until then.
Yeah, and I'm okay with one-off episodes because Clone Wars and Rebels have these one-off episodes.
Hmm.
But I feel like those episodes, what kind of hurt it for me on this was that it was like 6 of them in a row. That I feel like there wasn't anything, at least that I noticed, that was progressing the story.
Yeah.
And that's where and because I was originally watching season 2 as it aired, and it kind of one day I started getting behind, and I was like, "I'll catch up one day," and I just never did. And then things got busy, and I never did. Even though everybody was like, "The finale is so good," and it is. The
Oh,
season
it's
2 finale is
amazing.
really good.
Oh, it's
Because I think I
amazing.
told you before that once they get to, I guess it's the outpost, it's like they put the pedal to the metal and they never let up. When I say they never let up, I don't mean for the rest of the season. I mean for the rest of the show.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
just in general. And then they caused so many rumors to start floating too, just after that finale. But so I think I want to ask you about the outpost specifically.
Okay.
Um, what makes you like that episode? Like, what makes you think that's kind of like the turning point? That's where you started feeling like it picked up again.
So technically, if you really think about it, it is kind of a side mission episode.
Yes.
Be- But the 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 I don't want to use a big word. Here we go. The ramifications of that episode
Oh
are heavy.
gosh, dictionary.com.
Yeah, I can't remember the small word, which is weird. uh, but that is a very important episode for what's going to be the rest of the show and for Crosshairs as a character.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was like, all right, we're getting somewhere now. We're developing characters. We're developing story that I think is going to be important.
I just that flick of the switch in Crosshair's head,
Mm-hmm.
like,
You
and
know,
then it leads to a line that's in like one of the very last episodes that to me shows so much like growth and amazing just like nature change. And I'll talk about that in a second. But so actually no, let's so we see that point there, and then we see all the fun like the crazy start. But then we get to season 3.
bro. Season 3 is so good. And here's
It
how, so
is
here's
oh
something that season 3 does. It takes a character that for most of the episode I was either annoyed by or intensely okay with, to a character that may be jumping into one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Now, nowhere near my top 5, but Omega really grew on me in season 3.
oh yeah. I absolutely hated her in seasons 1 and 2. Could not
So
stand her at all.
Omega from
I,
the corridor, from the hallway.
oh my gosh.
Like she was a kid. She was a kid, and kids can be annoying.
Which yeah, that's very true. But it was definitely like this I don't know, something about her like I love kids. Uh like I love cuz my dad my whole family have had jobs that have worked with kids uh my whole life. And I actually had a job where I got to hang out with a lot of Make-A-Wish kids, which was fun and get to make them smile and make them laugh. So I love hanging out with kids and their families and stuff like that. But Omega, just every nerve I had was poked and prodded. And oh my goodness gracious. But I agree with you. That last season, part of me wonders if it actually had to do with her like literally aging up a little bit. You know?
Probably a little bit, but also I feel like not just I feel like she matures a lot in the show, but not even from
Oh, yeah.
like an age standpoint. I feel
Okay.
like experience wise, she's forced to be more mature. And I feel like that's an incredibly difficult line to walk down of a character development in a kid show, essentially. But they nailed it.
They did it so well, and then her basically. But then, like, I love, and I think you had told me this too. That connection that she's made with each one of her brothers, as she calls them.
Yeah, I think I texted you during the. I think it was just either the second to last episode, or I think it might have been the second one. But when she starts calling the Bad Batch her brothers, I'm like, that just makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I love it. I think they're gonna die.
Yes.
And they didn't. They didn't,
Hmm.
which is blew me
Well,
away.
well,
Well, one did, but that already happened.
oh, that makes my heart hurt thinking about
I
it.
that and I thought for a moment, and I think I texted you this when back in season 2 when Tech fell off the train. I text you and I was like, what, Tech? And you're like, mm-hmm, because you didn't want to say anything because you didn't want to talk about what's happening later on,
Yeah, yeah.
even though it never came back around. But
No,
I
but
made
then
it.
you
I
made a
made a
joke.
joke. I made a joke
Oh,
that he's gonna come back with a metal arm, reprogrammed to be a government assassin, essentially. And you just went dot dot dot. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they introduced the CX troopers. Is that what they called? I think
yeah.
that's what they're
So I
called,
think so.
CX
Something like
troopers.
that.
And I was watching it, and for a second, because there's a shot in one of them where it shows from behind their head, and it put the helmet on, because you never see their face. It put the
Yeah.
helmet on with the main bad guy there in front of him, and I'm like, is that Tech?
That's what like, and I've seen this on the internet. I've seen it go absolutely insane on the internet, and that's why I didn't want to say anything. That's why
Just in
you got
case.
the dot 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 text because I was like, I don't know if he's gonna put two and two together.
But it wound up,
I
I guess
feel
it's
like
not
he
Tech.
is. Well, they never
They never showed it.
actually say anything.
I wonder if maybe them, because the way that one scene was shot, I was like, I feel like they shoot this as like we're supposed to know who this is,
It definitely felt that way.
and
And that
that's
was
what I
always
was
the
like.
thing.
I was like, is this Tech? But I wonder if they're like in the middle of it. It's like maybe we shouldn't completely copy a Marvel movie.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm gonna
uh,
tell you the truth. The Marvel connection never clicked in my head
until I
personally.
made that joke.
No, like even after the joke never clicked. You had to explain the joke, remember?
Oh yeah, because I called him
Because I was like, "What do you
Winter
mean?"
Trooper.
And you called him the Winter Trooper. It took me a solid 5 minutes after that text to go, "Oh!" I was feeling so much like a dunce because
and
I
and
got
the
so
reason that
hyper focused on Star Wars.
and that reason my brain immediately made that connection. Like I said a couple times, I'm a massive nerd about a lot of things. Uh, and this is gonna I this feels weird saying this on a Star Wars episode. Star Wars isn't my biggest fandom. I think we've talked about this before. I
Yeah,
love Star Wars a lot. I absolutely adore it. I watch everything Star Wars. I love most things Star Wars, but it does fall second place to Marvel. Because Marvel, and for the long, because I got into Marvel before. Like I started watching Marvel movies in high school. I'm way behind on a lot of things. It took me a minute to
Hmm.
get to some things. Well, I guess really high school is when I got into it. But I'd watched Marvel movies before that. You know, Iron Man, the Fantastic Four movies I watched in theater when they came out. But I feel like I became a Marvel fan in high school, Star Wars fan after college. So I was into it quicker. So when I was seeing that, my Marvel brain tapped my Star Wars brain and was like, "Hey, hey, hey, it's Bucky. He's falling off a train trying to save his buddies."
hey, techie. Uh, yeah, but it never. And it's so funny too because Captain America is my favorite Marvel movie, so of all people to also make that connection, it should have been me, but not at all.
No,
Not at all.
your Marvel fan brain was tapping your shoulder, your Star Wars shoulder brain. Your other one was like, "Stop it! I'm hyper focused."
Just like slapping the hand away.
Like, stop, stop, stop! Bad Batch is happening.
Pulls out a lightsaber, cuts the hand off.
No, a blaster for you.
Oh yeah, blaster. Blaster.
Wait a
No,
minute.
no, a vibra. What is it? A vibrate. Vibrate. I can't
Vibranium?
say it. No, vib.
Oh,
Vibe blade.
the
Vibe
blade.
blade.
Yeah,
A sword that the guy has in the last episode.
yeah.
Whatever
Oh,
it is, the vibrating blade.
Mando has
sword.
one too, right?
Yes, and so does. What's it called? Is it a vibrate? I can't say it.
I don't know. I used to know these things. Then I got old.
It's a vibro blade.
Vibro.
That's what it is. It's literally a blade that just vibrates.
Yeah. You know that brings in an interesting. While we're talking about this for a second, do you think a lightsaber could cut through a vibranium shield?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, okay. Well, here's going to be my question. Are we talking about the physics of the Marvel universe? Or are we going to be talking about the physics of the Star Wars universe?
So you're saying as in like the plot convenience of Star Wars, the lightsaber can cut everything, or the plot convenience of Marvel that the shield can block anything.
I'm going to look at I don't know. From that point of view, I don't know. But if we're
You know
talking
who
about
does know?
within the Star Wars universe, no, it can't. If we're talking about the Neil deGrasse Tyson,
No, I was gonna say Ryan Reynolds from Free Guy, who's the only person who's ever built both.
true, and ticked off and elated so many fandoms at the same time. I'm
Yeah,
saying
he
he
did.
ticked off and elated so many fandoms at the same time.
I was having fun.
And then the Chris Evans cameo. That's one of my
So good.
favorite movies ever. But
It's so good, man. It's so fun.
that's the great thing about it is it's just fun. But Bad Batch. My brain is still on that mode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I gotta say, I've loved I've loved all the characters, but I love Crosshair's redemption arc.
Yeah, very much so. Very
And
much so.
one of the last lines he says, "You used to be." He's told, "You used to be a good soldier who followed orders." He says, "It depends on who's given the order."
Mm-hmm.
And I just went, "Oh, there it is! Thank you." Full circle, like because that's how everybody felt in season 1. So to see him finally, like, verbalize that, oh my gosh, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Now that we're kind of talking into season 3, and the redemption arcs and kind of where they ended, I had a thought, and this was something I asked you. Do you want me to say this now when we were texting, or do you want me to save it for the podcast? And you said save it.
Okay, yes, because I wanted to give a genuine reaction to this.
I was watching this episode, and it was right after they got the other troopers out of the cells.
Out of cryo storage, yes.
Were they?
No, okay.
No, they were.
No. I was making a joke about the CX troopers. My bad. Sorry.
Oh no. This is when they broke up the other troopers that helped them for the rest of the episode.
Ah, yes.
And they started that whole arc from there. There was a point where I literally in my head went, I love Star Wars.
Yes. Yes.
It's that whole moment is like, this is what makes Star Wars awesome. Things like this is what makes Star Wars awesome, and this makes me happy that I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's something I had. None of this isn't Star Wars related either. So I know I jumped off topic a little bit on a very small topic episode, but I had the same thought last year when I watched Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Which I know it's a polarizing movie for a lot of people. Some people don't like it, some people do. But there's a moment in there through one of the action scenes where I'm sitting in a movie theater. I go, I love movies.
I can see that. I can see that. And that scene, I think that was one of the scenes that because I was watching it laying down on the couch, and I think that was the scene that I just straight up threw my arm up in the air in just sheer excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like it felt like I was 10 years old again, or 13 years old again, seeing Star Wars, or 12 years old again, seeing Star Wars for the first time, and just thoroughly enjoying it. And so, yeah, I love Star Wars too. But golly. And this has been the thing about, and this is one thing that I've absolutely loved since the beginning about Star Wars, is Star Wars is for everybody. They've got something for everybody. They've got some stuff that's going to make people stop and go, okay, that's a little weird. But then 5 minutes later, you're going, oh, I understand now.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also canceled some things, like Star Wars 1313.
We were having this discussion before we started recording.
I know, I wanted to bring this back.
Because you
I'm
brought up your
still mad too.
so Lane was talking about his trooper number he was going to do for his intro, and he brought up the name 13, and I was like, sometimes when I hear the number 13, especially when it's two 13s after each other, I get real sad. And you were like, what? And for a minute, I guess it didn't click, and I was like, because Star Wars 1313 didn't happen, and I was so excited for that.
That would have been one of the greatest games ever. And now, like, and I was even saying, like, that's like my lucky number. 13 is my lucky number. I was born on May 13th. So, like, now I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to celebrate that birthday again. I'll be sad every time. But
yeah,
no, I'm playing. No, but I love all of this. And now they're doing stuff. They're still doing a lot of cool video games. Wait a minute,
yeah.
you've been playing. What was one of the Star Wars games you were playing recently? I feel like you were telling me about that.
It's been a minute since I've played it, and I'm waiting to play the sequel. Jedi Fallen Order is a game I absolutely love. Love.
That's right.
And I'm waiting until I get a PS5 to play Survivor. Even though everybody's like,
Okay.
it's good, play it. I'm like, I want to play it right.
My brother just bought it today. So,
I've
and
heard incredible things about it.
There's one villain that I want to play, and I just want to play to get to this scene, and that's it. But I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil it for you. Though you've probably already seen spoilers of it.
I actually have not seen any spoilers from this game.
Then I'm not going to say a thing.
I'm surprised I haven't, but
I watch things all the time, and I just, again, I think I've said this before. I know I've said this a million times at this point. I like a good blaster more than I like a lightsaber. I want to play this one. Do you know anything about the fighting styles
of Survivor?
In Survivor?
Is it not similar to Fallen Order?
No.
Oh snap!
Then never mind. I will not say what I was going to say. But those listening that have played the game probably know where I was going with that sentence, and now know the reason why I would actually like to play the game. Also, though, I've been really getting into. I was really into like Battlefront 2. Yeah, and then when they when they re-released like the original Battlefronts, I was gonna buy them. And then I heard what happened on release day, and now I've been hesitant.
Yeah.
But like I actually went out and bought like a flight stick as well, so I could go back and play Star Wars Squadrons. I'm gonna try to pull it up in VR eventually and like play that in VR. Probably sweat like there's no tomorrow and die of dehydration, but it will be worth it.
Yeah, there's a game that I want to get back into. I used to play a lot before my laptop broke a few years ago, and I haven't really got a chance to go back into it. But I put a lot of time and absolutely loved Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO.
Yeah.
Man, I was into that game, and then my laptop broke, and I was like, no! Right when I was about to start. Never mind. I don't want to get into that rant.
No, please, because I have not played it yet.
Well, it's a game.
Because
I was playing because there's different factions. How much do you know about the game?
I've played a little bit. I
So you know that
played,
there's the factions and stuff, like different
yeah.
ends of characters
I
you can play as.
I follow things on Reddit. Yes.
Okay, so I played as a smuggler,
Oh,
and because I really like that kind of corner of the Star Wars universe. I know I said I like lightsaber stuff too, but I do. But I feel like there's a lot of really interesting stories that can be told in like the Star Wars like underworld kind of thing, like smugglers
mhm,
and bounty hunters. So I was
mhm.
playing as a smuggler, and I was kind of coming to the finale of like the first part of that character's story, and my laptop fell off my table
No.
and broke as I was getting ready to start that scene. I don't even remember how it fell. This is how long ago it was. I don't remember how it fell. I just remember it fell, and I have not finished it yet. And I did have it installed on my computer now. I just haven't really had a chance to go in there and put the
My
amount of
dude,
time I know I'm going to put in it.
you gotta do it.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
going
like,
to. There's a part of me that wants to start over because it's been so long since I've played.
yes. I feel like you should, but also like I
But
would
I
have
don't know
to
if it's going to
myself.
let me keep my character name, which is great.
Well, it might. The thing is, like some of those games, you got to remember this. Some of those games, if you don't touch them for long enough, they delete characters or
It's
they
possible they did
reset
that.
names. So you might have lost the character name anyway.
My
It might not
my
hurt to check first.
so my character name on that thing was in a very
Zero.
obscure Star Wars reference that maybe a very small pocket of people know what I'm talking about.
Now I'm curious if I know what you're talking about.
My my character, my smuggler, was Captain Nedris.
Eh, yeah.
Because for one, everything I was throwing in there was taken. Because it was a pretty old game to the point I started playing it. So everything was taken. So I just out of whim, I'm like, let me try it. And it took it. I'm like, okay, I'm Captain Nedris now. Anybody out there who knows what that is, congratulations.
And keep it to yourself.
It's a
No, I'm
very,
kidding.
very small pocket of the not just Star Wars fans, but just
I
people in
love it
general who
though.
know who
I
that is.
love that. I love that because I'm so happy that I know the reference.
Yeah.
It's fantastic if you know the reference.
I tried the
Uh,
other name, but that was taken somehow.
I don't remember the other name actually.
Van Zell.
Uh, oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll tell you this. I played it on an old like laptop too, but the laptop was old enough that it just decided one day it said no. And then I tried it. I think I downloaded it to my next laptop, and it was like immediately no. Really? And now I'm on a Mac,
Pretty hardcore
so
game, graphics wise.
I want to see it. I want to play it. Now that they've added like Mandalorian stuff in the shop, I know I would spend real world money on things I should not spend real world money on. But like also like Fortnite, I know I'm going to be spending money this weekend because tomorrow, May 3rd, starts their Star Wars event, and they're releasing one of my favorite troopers of all time as a playable skin. I'm
Yeah.
at the point I'm probably going to buy that and then never touch another skin ever again.
Yeah, that's the let me see if I remember back when I was talking about this. The AWR trooper, the Death Troopers.
Yes, I call them Death Troopers. Yes, the original. I don't really remember why were they called the Death Troopers to begin with. I don't remember.
I think it was not. I don't think they're all called Death Troopers. I think it was that faction
Oh,
of
okay.
AWR
But yeah,
troopers called the Death Troopers.
that type of trooper is like my absolute favorite of all time. I've actually visited Disney World a couple of times back in the day where they like were walking around. And I got pictures with them every single time I could. I would go and like hunt them down. I'm pretty sure they started to recognize me after a while. because I was that obsessive over the stormtroopers. I think all of the stormtroopers at some point started recognizing me, just because. I mean, I kind of stuck out in a crowd. Wouldn't you agree, Jordan?
Whatever would you mean?
Not the giant wheelchair that sits under me all times, unless I'm on
No,
a roller coaster.
no.
No,
Your
that couldn't
personality is big enough to stand out in a
possibly.
crowd, though.
That and the bright T-shirts I wear
Yeah.
with giant Star Wars pictures on them.
Yep.
And nothing, and like no other types. No, I wear so many brightly colored shirts, and like half my wardrobe is Star Wars. Just in general, which is hilarious. But
I also feel like because I also used to go to the parks a lot too when those characters were out there, and I feel like we would go a lot enough that we were noticed by these troopers to the point where they would just arrest us.
yeah, that happened frequently.
Yeah, it did.
I forgot about that actually. And we have plenty of pictures with our hands behind our heads.
Yeah, one time my brother traded me in to a Jawa for some droid parts, toy droid parts, not even real like droid, it was toy droid parts.
Oh, that's even better though.
Because she was like the Jawa was like Utuki Houdini, like pointing at the droid stuff, and he's like, I don't have anything to trade. And the Jawa went to turn around and walk away. And he's like, well, I got my brother, and the Jawa turned around, and was like shook his head and like grabbed my arm and like pulled me away, threw him the
That's
parts.
fantastic. I had a Jawa reach over on my wheelchair. I had that wheelchair at the time had a button for the horn,
Mm-hmm.
and I still to this day don't know how this Jawa knew because all of my buttons looked similar. But this Jawa, no joke, looked at me, like walked up to me, looked at me, looked at the wheelchair, looked at me, still looking at me, reached over, found my horn button with their finger, and pressed it. Went da 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 on my horn, and I just stopped and looked. And the thing about it was, they did this. The Jawa did this, and then just turned and walked away. And I just kind of went, no, wait, come back. What the heck? What? I think I spent 20 minutes confused after that. Goodness gracious. But that's the cool thing about, like, now that Disney can do Star Wars, is that you're going to get things in the parks. And I've actually been to Disneyland as well. And I don't remember. I think I got to ride Hyperspace Mountain over there.
I got to ride Hyperspace Mountain one time in Disneyland.
That's insane.
Dude, I already love their Space Mountain so much, but Hyperspace Mountain, that's hyper love.
Beautiful, beautiful thing.
I don't think I've ever cried. I haven't cried on a roller coaster since I was a kid. The first time I got on a roller coaster.
Oh, that was me every time I got on a roller coaster until I was in my 20s. But I agree with you.
I literally going up that lift hill and the music started playing. I was like, oh.
I feel like I went to a Star Wars night though. I paid a little extra and got an extra ticket or something to a Star Wars night at Disney World.
Was it Galactic Nights?
Yes, I got to go to a Galactic Night one year and rode Rock and Roller Coaster
with the John Williams music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, chills thinking about it. Anyway, and now all the new Star Wars rides. My brain hurts thinking about all this stuff. I just gotta say,
the great thing about Star Wars is
what?
There's enough content between movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, novels, theme parks, just in general, that we could probably do a Star Wars episode like forever on May the 4th.
So then let's do that.
That sounds good. I think we should definitely do that. But
I feel like that's going to be a regular thing for us. We're going to have hopefully, God willing, we'll have a Star Wars special for every year from now until
we forget.
we forget. No,
We're never gonna forget
that's what
Star
I'm
Wars,
saying.
dude.
That's what I'm saying. God willing, like if we get to do multiple years of this podcast, like, because who knows what the future holds? Only God knows what the future holds. But I'm hoping that we get to do this for many years to come, and we get to talk about all the new things like the Acolyte and the Mandalorian movie that's coming. Hopefully, a season 2 of Ahsoka.
That other
I
movie we don't know much about yet.
yeah,
That
isn't it a
Ellen and
trilogy?
James. Well, there's the Ryan Johnson trilogy that we haven't heard anything about since they announced it in 2017. Um, uh, but there's also the movie that James Mangold's doing, the one that did Dial of Destiny and Logan. He's
Oh
doing a Star
yeah.
Wars movie that's set in like the old Republic days. It's supposed to be like the origins
Oh,
of
I
the Jedi.
didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Mm, no.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the origin of the Jedi.
Oh, I learn something new every day.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry. You
probably
said Logan and like you caught me because Logan is one of my favorite movies.
well. James Mangold is a really good director. There's not. I don't. I was looking at those
Gracious.
filmography the other day. I don't think there's things of it I don't like. There's some, of course, there's things that are like enjoyable, but are maybe not the best.
Mhm.
Um, Things that may be intensely okay. Uh,
Ha!
but I feel like if you really let him do his own thing, like I think he can really nail that and like home run it.
I'm so excited now. Like my brain just stopped functioning altogether. It's been
Yeah,
doing
man.
that a lot tonight.
Yeah, man.
Part of it is sick brain, part of it is
Yeah. But like you
um
said, we have. I think did they confirm a season 2 of Ahsoka?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I
I
do know
hope
we're
they
getting a
did.
season 2 of Andor that just wrapped. Filming.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
There's a lot I don't know apparently.
This is what I'm here for.
Yes, you're
I
here to
think we
fill
said
in
on
the
the last
blanks.
episode that I didn't know the Henry Cavill movie that just came out. The what is it? The Ungentlemanly Warfare. I don't
Mhm.
remember the whole
Yeah,
title. That's just
Ministry
what I
of
call it.
Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah, I didn't know that movie was happening until like a week before I saw the trailer, which was like 2 months before the movie came out. And you were surprised I didn't know about it because I'm in the know about a lot of the things that are happening in Hollywood,
Well, see, this is
especially when
why
it comes to these fandoms.
I feel like this is why our friendship works out because half the time I'm not like more than half the time I'm not aware of stuff, and then the one time that you're not aware of stuff, I'm aware of it.
I'm your information dealer.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why this works.
This is why we have conversations in front of a Cracker Barrel for 7 hours.
Jeez. While playing checkers.
Yeah,
And I think we made it through like 2 games of checkers that night.
I think so.
That was great. Anyway,
The people were clocking out when we were playing.
they were. And they walked out and they're like, "Y'all are still here?" And we went, "Whoops. Yes."
We should probably go.
I think they were ready to turn like the porch lights off and everything.
Yeah.
Uh I could hear it in one of anyway, we're getting off topic again.
But yeah,
That's great.
a lot of really cool things about Star Wars to look forward to. Like so, we got I think with season 2 of Andor, we know is happening. We got the Mando and Grogu movie, Acolyte's happening. We did the other Star Wars movie. Eventually, we actually may one day get that Ryan Johnson trilogy. uh, for me, Jedi Survivor. It's new for me.
Oh, I've not played it either. I can't wait.
Well, you let me know what you think, but don't spoil anything because you're gonna get to play it before I do. So
We'll see. We'll see if he lets me play it. That's gonna be the thing. Because he's gonna. There's a high probability I'm not gonna be able to touch it until he finishes. I will say this: I did just find on Variety an article about season 2 of Ahsoka.
Ahsoka.
Yeah. According to this, if I'm reading this correctly, um, he is in fact working actively
And this is Dave
or
Filoni.
developing, yeah, on Ahsoka season 2. But this was like earmarked like January 9th. So maybe, but also like the
Okay.
way it ends says other upcoming Star Wars series on Disney Plus include The Acolyte Andor season 2. Filoni is directing a feature film that is expected to wrap up his TV series storylines.
Do you think that's Mando and Grogu?
I think so, and that's what worries me.
Oh, there's also another show that's coming out soon that I think people have actually seen footage of, but just we haven't heard anything about it since they showed that footage.
Was that?
It's called a show called is it Skeleton Crew
Yes.
with Jude Law.
Sorry, I get so excited I made myself cough.
I felt that film so long ago because I remember hearing about it so long ago, and we have just heard
Wait.
nothing about it.
That I gotta look that up because I thought did they can that? I don't remember.
I don't think they canned it. I think they showed footage at D23, which was
Oh, you're right.
a year and a half ago. Because D23 is happening this year, which means it didn't happen last year, which means it happened the year before.
See, this is another one of those things like with the way that everything's like because I'm getting to a point where I'm gonna keep saying that I am cautiously curious about um movies and TV shows coming. Especially Star Wars. Because like I said, like I don't personally, not every Star Wars project's a win for me. But if it's a win for somebody, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
By all means. It's the same with like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and even the DC Cinematic Universe. Um, so I'm curious what's gonna happen. Will I watch it? Probably. I keep making my voice crack, and I don't know if it's coming through. But do we know anything about Skeleton Crew other
I
than
know
Jude
that
Law's in it?
Jude Law, I know it's supposed to take place about kids that are on I think, a wrecked ship or something. Or they have to get away from something. I know it involves the kids are
Okay.
the main part of the story. Jude Law is like the main like adult character, I guess. That I think I remember
Do you
somebody
think?
saying it had a vibe of Goonies in space. Um,
Oh,
I think
okay.
I heard
You're
something
gonna
like that.
hate me. You're gonna hate me.
You've never seen Goonies?
I've never seen Goonies.
Okay, no, I don't hate you for it. My brother hasn't seen it either, and I own the movie. I haven't shown him yet.
Ha! Okay, I feel better. But I know that at least 3 people listening went at the same time. I don't know if that came through. I gasped.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh, but I now remember that John Watts, I think, wrote and directed it.
yeah, I did
Who
see
was
that.
the one who did the 3 MCU Spider-Man movies? So Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way.
Oh,
Which, depending on who you talk to, they're either going to think that's a great thing or it's a bad thing. I didn't realize that people don't like those movies.
hmm.
I thought they were all pretty good.
I will say I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, this is a conversation for another episode, though. Talk about Spider-Man, but but we'll see. We should see a lot of exciting things happening for Star Wars, and I think we may have more even coming. Because if I'm not mistaken, is there a celebration this year
Yes,
in Japan?
in Japan, because I keep getting the email. Tickets are on sale now,
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
in
like,
Japan.
I'm in a wheelchair. I can't fly to Japan. No, I can, but I have an electric wheelchair, and I do not trust airlines.
This is why I need it to happen in Orlando again.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because
Maybe
that's right up.
then I'll get
That's
to go.
5 minute drive for me.
Or I don't know. Or somewhere else, like somewhere between us would be nice.
What,
Or
Gainesville,
somewhere. No, I was thinking like
Atlanta?
I don't know where I was thinking. Like Atlanta or even if
Atlanta
it's
would
not
be
like
midways.
between us,
New
then
Orleans.
like New Orleans, because then it would give you an excuse to come to New Orleans.
Could you imagine like you could I can go get some real beignets. Um,
Yes, and make people
could
mad.
you imagine like a Star Wars like Mardi Gras parade?
I don't have to. There is one.
Oh, there is there?
It's called Chewbacca's.
What?
Yeah, it's just, I think so. Let me double check that. There's people that are probably screaming at me. Yeah. Hang on. It's called Chewbacca's. It is the intergalactic crew of Chewbacca's.
It's a Mardi Gras parade?
It's a Mardi Gras parade. It's a full on like Mardi Gras parade. Now granted it's like a drunk Wookiee. And it's essentially it's a nerd parade. So it's not just Star Wars,
Oh, so it's like
but
a
it is because I'm looking at
but
pictures, I'm finding like a drunk Mandalorian that's lit up playing a trombone. And a Boba Fett playing a French horn.
wow.
I'm seeing what's her name? Queen Thor's sister.
Padme?
No, Thor. Not in Star Wars. In Marvel.
Oh, his sister Hela?
Yeah, Hela. Hela playing a drum, standing next to one of the guys from Daft Punk playing a drum. And then three
Gotcha.
Ghostbusters
Also, my
that are
Marvel
being
card needs to go away because you said Thor's sister, and I thought of Natalie Portman, which is why I said Padme. I'm like, wait a minute, no, she's a love interest
how
in Thor.
dare. Goodness gracious.
I don't think I think my brain heard Thor and didn't hear sister, and I just thought of what does Thor and Star Wars have in common? Natalie Portman.
I mean, you made a connection. Wasn't the correct connection,
I
but it
mean,
was a connection.
at this point in time, it's amazing I even made a connection.
True. Look at the
Been a
picture.
long day.
I just texted the wrong person. Uh, I'm doing it again. Dang it!
Somebody's gonna be like, why in the world?
But it's
Did you-
hilarious because I texted it to my brother and I forgot that his ringtone was Chewbacca, so it works out. But I just texted you a picture. This was in Chewbacca's this year.
Oh my goodness!
Yes. So when I say Star Wars nerd,
It's like
I mean Star
Padawan
Wars nerd.
violinist.
Yeah. Just don't let Annie see.
Master Skywalker. The son
Whatever
of
shall we
Luke.
do? And then there were none.
Uh,
No violinists
Yeah.
that year.
so where are we at?
But yeah,
Oh yeah,
so-
are we?
Well,
is there anything
I think
else
we're
you'd like
kind
to
of
talk
at
about?
a point.
We're starting to hit that weird rambly point. So
Yes, we always reach the rambling point at like this time of night too. So because we're recording kind of late.
Again, I remember what we said last time. On my time zone, we are 30 minutes away from Jordan and Lane after midnight again.
Yeah, it's happening again, which is insane. So we need to wrap up before we hit that point this time, because I think
Yeah.
we went like a minute over and things went weird.
We did. We know if we do ever go over midnight tonight, we technically go into Revenge of the Fifth.
Kinda, but also no.
In a matter of thinking, in a matter of
In a matter of
perspective, as
speaking,
Obi-Wan
in a
says.
matter of I'll give you that one. So let me ask. Let me think. Let me ask one more, like, question,
Okay.
just to get your brain going for like half a second, and then we can end it on this. Or two small little questions. If you lived in the Star Wars universe, number one, what do you wish you would be doing? Versus what do you actually think you would be doing?
I would love to. Oh goodness.
Do you like? Do you get what I'm asking? Like
Yeah. Like, what would I
'Cause
want to
it's-
be? And what would I probably be?
yeah, exactly. Because
So
my
I
brain just
probably would just be a lowly farmer. Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Nothing of much importance.
I hate to say it, I probably would have joined the Empire,
Do you love those
or
helmets?
at least attempted to. I definitely would have
Would
attempted
you
to.
be like?
But
You'd be like
I wouldn't be a trooper. No, I wouldn't be a trooper. I'd be like a data analyst, like in
the one wearing
Andor.
that really weird helmet on the
No,
the.
I'm talking about like in Andor, specifically in it. Like
Oh,
the
okay.
guy at the desk doing the same thing every single day
Yeah, yeah, that was actually really
after his
funny.
demotion.
Yeah,
Like that's probably what I would be doing.
what I want to be. That's a harder question than I thought it would be.
I would want to be either actually no, I would want to be a part of a 3-man bounty hunting team. I've thought this through way too much because I have 2 brothers. I would be the pilot and the trick shot.
Okay,
I have
I
a
got
younger
mine.
brother who reminds me of Wrecker in like size
Rekka?
cuz yeah. But he's very much like when he gets angry, he gets stronger.
Hmm.
It's kind of he hulks out a little bit. It's kind of hilarious in the fact that he's also a nerd. So it's not hilarious that he gets angry, but it's hilarious that we call it him hulking out because he's also a nerd.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other brother is like the tech genius. Um, that so I feel like the 3 of us together within the Star Wars universe, if we actually fell into those roles, I think we'd be a really cool like bounty hunting team.
Okay.
Uh, but I definitely feel like I would have probably ended up joining the Empire, unfortunately, just as a data analyst in some back shop. And then when the New Republic came around, I would have just been like, okay, and continued doing the same exact job.
Okay. I feel like I would, and I talked about this earlier. And that's the first thing I played on as Old Republic. I think I would want to be like a smuggler, like a Han Solo type character.
That would be
Not a
fun.
pirate though. I don't want to go full Hondo.
Ha! I love that connection. Like not
There's a
full
lot of
Hondo, but
danger involved with
somewhere.
pirating. The smuggling, at least.
Well, there's a lot of danger involved in smuggling too. You might end up owing Jabba 5,000 credits.
This is true, but I feel like the word pirate comes with danger.
Only because Hondo makes it so.
Hey, I've done missions for Hondo before. It's
Ha! I have
we both have together.
when we did great and we've done horrible.
Oh, we made that thing spark. Or if you're people that don't know, and people who are probably listening probably know what we're talking about. Smugglers run the ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. We get
Yeah,
to drive the Millennium Falcon for Hondo Anaka.
see. I got to get back though because I learned and tell me if I'm wrong because I think you've been more recently than me. Um, they've got a bounty hunting guild thing now, correct?
Yeah, it's like a game on the app or something.
Okay, that is the
I haven't played.
sole reason I want to go back and Disney bound in like a Star Wars esque outfit. Wait, I think we can wear costumes to a degree.
To a degree.
To a degree. So then full costume then. I would want to wear a Star Wars-ish costume that fits me, but I want to be a Star Wars bounty hunter. And I would love to go through that whole thing. I would probably spend an entire day just in Galaxy's Edge, bouncing back and forth to get all of the bounties to be able to join the Bounty Hunters Guild in one day. So I would have bragging rights for the rest of my life.
My phone would never survive.
Oh, I would have gone through like 3 of those or 4 of those little like batteries that you can rent out.
Oh yeah.
I definitely would be going through a million of those by the end of the day. But I would do it in a heartbeat. But anyway, on that note, thank you for joining us. I've been a little excited about this episode.
I happen to. This is one. I think this is one of the first things we talked about when we talked about doing this.
We yeah. This we definitely were like we gotta have a Star Wars episode. Just absolutely have to, without a doubt. Uh so we're gonna go back to our normal scheduled programming. We'll probably do some more specials later in this year. Right?
We have a couple things kind of planned out. We haven't really gone It's just full detail planning yet, but we got a couple things on
Yeah.
the idea list.
But I'm so happy to have been able to sit down today, and well, I sit down every day. But
we essentially got to record so people around the world maybe can hear what we talk about on a normal daily basis.
yeah, this is just an average conversation for us. 90% of the time, it's about Star Wars. So this works out. But on that note, let me say I want to say this. This is so stupid, but I want to say this. May the Force be with you. And have a good night.